6 o'clock.
Wait.
All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order of the Kiowa Board of Directors here meeting for Monday, May the 19th at 6 o'clock. And we're gonna do our pledge of allegiance and Bill is gonna lead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a board, there are 8 directors that are present this evening. And real quick, first, a couple of comments for the record, just so you'll know. I just wanted the rules that we talked about last meeting are actually out there on the weekly update. So we're getting some comments and just encourage people to get some more comments too. Whole audience right here, so I need to talk to y'all there. Also a reminder that the Easter Bunny will be here on Sunday, and he'll be here from 12 to 1:30. And so we have 7,000 eggs to get rid of. So if we don't get rid of all of them, then they'll come back and go off work. So I'm thinking that could happen. Yes, sir.
I've had some members ask me to mostly go to my house that they should come in and be rescheduled for. Okay. All right.
Part of that, reading from the 40 brothers and they had going on.
Yep. Just Easter eggs and bystanders, so we'll get to bystanding, you got a picture of Easter Bunny and balloons. There's a concert that night, the concert at 7 o'clock, and that is I'm trying to remember. She sang here before, and now she's here with her band, Bobby Joe, yes. And so they'll be in the middle at 7. Hey, don't forget, we do have a coffee with the community manager and president. That's always the Thursday before the board meeting. And we had a great turnout this last time. We had all of one member that was there. And so we're a little down from our attendance for the meeting before. So don't forget that one. And then last note, July 4th is a big weekend. We have lots of activities. Make sure you tell people that the parade starts at 9:30. Not at 10, like it has in the past, at 9:30. We're trying to give people more time to do the activity. So just so you know. Other than that, we do now have 9 members that are here on the board, so let you know that. And any comments from the members?
No.
Way too many members to sit way back there in the back. All right, and how about our meeting minutes? And so, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April with Chris? And then Larry, second?
With changes.
With changes, Larry's got changes.
Item 9. E. For reports that include the metal building, and the report in the board, not the building. Will move the change screen with rigging.
Okay, we straight. Okay. Any other edits? Well, sorry, my last name is spelled JCKSON, and that's at the very, very end. So, of course, you know. That's the only other edits that I jumped up there.
It's definitely names. I need all the time.
So sorry.
EYLN.
Oh no! Dang it. Oh, you're
Yeah,
not.
I do not the best. So I'm down in my.
Okay, so we have some edits there to the minutes. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other additions or edits or anything? All right, we'll take our vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right. 8-0. The next on our agenda is our financial update. Dan?
Thank you. Right, looking at this next report, a couple of things going on, because it's a holiday. You, your underlying revenue, I'm not the top one, second is the launch. I'm sure we will, put it over the table and these balance to the county. But you know, it's coming.
Right. So yes, come in here, so slightly over on expenses, we still have a pretty big, reduction in expenses from what we've done. But then growth from Victoria from last year to this year, so we're ahead $47,000 on actual, but as you can see, they were negative $15,000 for the month. So we just have to keep an eye on running to see, make sure that we're not doing something, you know, that's gonna be bad. You're positive. From a revenue perspective, interest, from operations, $4,600. You're gonna see the stop sign now. We don't currently budget for interest income. Something we look at in the fall, a lot, any interest income is positive. We see a bunch of small negatives here, except for the beverage. So early partners are cyclical, claims fees with what related to the activities we've had, or activities we had. We're looking under food and beverage fee, we're around that, $111,000, but that's not. Alright, expenses, good, $9,000 for good on administration, $2,500 good on the lodge. You see just a number of small things that we're moving over on expenses, salary benefits from the lodges and companies, keep an eye on, but a lot of these things are some one-time, costs with recruiting and reserve fund balances, nothing really exciting here. Political fees are in good shape, not much difference from last month. The piece I do want to talk about is interest earned and negotiation fee. So this is through, April, so 4 months of the year. We kind of try to analyze interest earned, it's about $600,000 ish. Initiation fee, 72,000, it's a couple of $1,000, probably a little bit more, given the cyclicality of how that works. So if you think about it, that's $800,000 in revenue that are gaining for the community without any increased fees to the members. So, obviously the work that was done on interest income was, tremendous help. You also need to think about if interest rates go back down to where they were 5 years ago, that $600,000 becomes $200,000. Well, it's not due for the budget if we don't have, X $100,000 into that. Balances. There's still about $600,000 in balances in the reserve funds for part 3 between construction. There's about $200,000 of that is for maintenance, a little over $200,000. The reserve balance is still pretty significant. So we've got a little more detail. This has always been in your board packet with financial information that's come out. And now you can see, the exact number of where the assets are, etc. You can see here the numbers in this document with part 3 as well. Our policy is going to change in July. We're taking a third of that for the first reserve fund. Roughly $700,000 will come out into that. For investments, we need to try to get longer. Believe in that the rates are higher and stay higher. Until some technology, now, you would come to some paths. So as you saw last month, it's a lot of 4 weeks. Now it's 13 weeks. A lot of that is transitions to set up separate accounts for each of the reserve funds and them. So our goal, our guidance, I guess, is to try to get something more in the 6-month range. So it can capture the income and be able to capture the program. All right, so I was going to go into a little deeper dive around ARF and our funding and changed. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and like everyone else, we were talking about property taxes, assessments, and stuff. So it's the time of year, right? So I started to say, all right, how much has property changed in valuation? Over the last, I just picked 10 years just to see what that looks like. So if you look at Lake Kiowa, based on the numbers that I can get access to, median sales price was roughly $350,000 10 years ago. Last year was roughly $300,000. So you've seen that from a median sales price percent gain of 120% in sales value for houses of that kind. That's going to be skewed a little bit higher because the sources are like Brentford as well. So those are what more probably what they're listed at. I'm going to actually see that since Texas, you don't have to declare actual sales prices. But you do have from Cook County, what was the appraised value of 2024. So you can say it kind of lined up somewhat around it. And then I just for a benchmark, I said, all right, what are the communities around us? So I kind of took 6 counties, Tarrant, Dallas, and Collin, Grayson, Cook. So kind of that more central Texas communities, looked at what their house prices did over that time period. So they went up significantly, but the lower rate when it came to cut. So if you believe the numbers, median sales prices $8,000 power in 2024 and $5,000 in all the 6 counties. Then kind of translated our discussion to, well, that's because all these people are moving. So I kind of looked at this and just said, all right, how many people really are moving here? I heard lots of different numbers. So I did some research. So over the last 10 years, if we looked at those same 6 counties, population grew by 1.1 million from 6th grade to 7th. But if you look out 10 more years, it's theoretically going to grow another 1.6 million. So 17.5% growth rate over the last 10 years, potentially 23% growth rate over the next 10 years. So 15 to 35, potentially almost half again population out of those 6. If you think about Cook County, it's definitely grown slower in the past, but as people kind of continue to populate a number of these communities, the coal rate continues to north, estimates that Cook County is going to grow in line with the rest of the county. So another 22% people in Cook County over the next 10 years. Then I started to think about inflation and what's that for Lake Kiowa Huntington. So over the last 10 years, inflation's gone up almost 40% in this area. Again, that's an average. It's actually an average of different averages. So there's a lot of things going on more, health insurance, property insurance, cars, trucks, energy costs. So some of those things went up over 50% during that time. But then I looked at the news, the economy, and if you look at June 2015, because back then the year was July to June, instead of the calendar year, the news have only gone up 30.4%, so 30% less than the overall inflation, which is interesting to think about, given what the year out in the community. Because there was a number of years out there where there was, a couple of years where there was a 0% increase in the news. So I did pull out like management, graphics, and this that took out garbage stuff from the news past. So I thought those things are interesting to understand and start to think about how that impacts not only where we're at financially today, but where we might be financially to possibly down the road. So that's an update. Any questions you guys have on any of this information?
Good information, thank you. Yes.
This is people that would be hungry to continue to tell that story. This is a good story. All right, other questions for Dan? All right, moving on, the next thing on our agenda is committee changes, and we just had a few that were there. Thank you to Ronnie Phillips, who agreed to be the chair of our golf committee. And then we added some people to the lodge and tavern, and we also removed some people. And that's all that I had at this point in time. Yes,
I'm gonna send you an email that annual is on
we did already.
that was last week.
It's
I'm not sure about what it says.
okay.
They're not trying to like to, so
Okay.
I mean, show the name back.
Okay.
All right.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Super efficient.
So, okay,
You just
I'll make sure. That's right. You want to volunteer? Here you go. All right. Is there a motion to approve those committee changes? Cecil, second? Okay.
Yeah.
Cecil and Dylan.
Got you.
All right. There's a motion before you. Anything else? All those in favor, raise your hand. And zero, you have approved those committee changes. Thank you very much. And is next on the agenda, can I move you down in the order of agenda? So we make sure all of our business back there. Okay, great, thank you. So I'm gonna go to ACC. So Rich,
Be fast forward here. So we have a property owned by the Marshalls, so construction's planning to do an addition. Part of well, it's a fairly large addition, so it's going to take a good portion of the lot. They approached Joe King, who owns the marina and the residents next door, and purchase the property, so they have an agreement in place to purchase this piece of property. It's about a little over 1/10 of an acre. So you can see here, this is a house outlined in the bluish purple, and that's the existing house. They're going to come forward. Excuse me. You can see Joe King's property. That's his residence up here, and then the storage areas. So they're going to add this little awkward shaped property to the side, basically all for septic. So just a tree area right now. This is what the existing house looks like. The gravel area you see in the right picture is actually the entry to the driveway. So you can see here how the house goes back. And again, you can see from how small the house is, it's basically doubling the size. And you can see the proposed septic in that new area, all this spray fuel. They have a plat already developed on the right, which will be the revised plat proposed to the county. And again, it's just over 1/10 of an acre. Joe King's property is actually 2.4 acres, so it's a small portion of his property, and it doesn't affect his septic. This is the existing house site plan, so you can again see the size, and then you can see the addition. So again, the need for that septic area. And if you want to see what the house looks like, this is kind of existing at the bottom, proposed on the top. That's kind of looking at the front. The whole projection is basically the garage and second floor. You can see it better on the side view. The bottom drawing is the existing house, and then the addition you can see up above. And then that's the septic engineer design. So basically, they're asking for permission to proceed with the property sale and with the constitution of that small replatted area in front. And the ACC has reviewed this, and proposes to the board for approval.
It's Scott, somebody said it's hard to hear on the Zoom, so I'm not sure what we need to do there. I've got several messages. And Rich, do you have a message for Melanie? That you called to?
No, right, but it's for.
Okay, all right. Technology. Okay, so you have before you an option to approve. Any questions for Rich?
Rich, you agree with the approval? Yes, I did. Real concern.
The one lot is a commercial lot currently, is that correct or incorrect?
That's debatable. Actually, Cook County, has listed as residential storage. There was a lawsuit, POA took against Joking at the time, or that wasn't Joking, it was actually the previous owner, about it being a marina and a residence. The judgment was allowed to have a residence and a marina on the property. And I can't find anywhere to where it wasn't commercial property. And I don't know how it was originally platted, it's not designated. So unless there was a vote at some time, which I can't find, that membership vote that changed it to commercial. It's not. So they had judgments where they're allowed to have both. It's listed as residential. I would say first probably next use. It's got residential and storage.
The storage is a different lot, is it not based on this?
No, it's all one lot.
I just see this yellow line right here.
Yeah, the entire lot is 2.4 acres. Matter of fact, I don't know. I think that yellow line on there is just a line. I don't think it means anything. All the property lines are in blue. I see how the blue notes are up. Yeah.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Chris, all right. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion approved, 9-0. All right. Ronnie, anything from a lodge and tavern perspective? Updates.
Jeremy and I went through the past year. We cataloged all of the things that we think we accomplished. Starting with the revenues in 2023, alcohol was 240,137, food 528, to 329, gifts for 173, almost 174,000. The 2024 alcohol was 334,000. The food 719, the tips 231, 785,000. One of the things we noticed is that the employees seem to enjoy being here more. They're being tipped more. I think that reflects that the people that are coming into the lodge are happier with the service that they're receiving. And I've noticed the attitude change, and I talked to many people that have noticed it too. It makes the dining experience more pleasurable. We still have some issues with people having to wait from time to time because of the crowd or because of the particular staffing for that day, but that's the nature of a restaurant. We also developed an online platform for the Lake Kiowa calendars, events, booking rooms, meetings, and special occasions. We're much more flexible with the dates available and how they're allocated. And we're also much more inflexible about someone ad hoc changing those or someone that they knew has happened in the past. So we're treating it as a business and everybody seems to be happier with that. We created a QR scan for comments, feedback, and reviews, and that gets us the information more promptly, and we're happier with some of it. Some of it probably 99% positive, but the things that people point out that we address. We covered the patio, pergola, and added outdoor TVs. We also added those big things and they were approved and installed. The infrared heaters have been approved and will be installed before the fall season occurs. We just added new tables, bar stools from the 19 pole and dining area that are ash wood grade, and look a whole lot more attractive than our old seated. We partnership with KWC and the board approved it for silverware that is greatly superior to that offered by Walmart, and which we've used in the past, and it hurts your hands when you pick it up, it's so cheap. We switched recently to linen napkins and black napkins for the tables that was a little classier. The ticketed concerts and shows have been successful and generally sell out before everyone gets an opportunity to come. We had chartered club events from several of our community associations. We've launched the butcher block and are looking to expand those options and products offered. It's doing very well right now. Our wine cabinets have been approved, and we're simply waiting on Jeremy to find the right size refrigerator to put in an additional 200 bottles that will be available to all of the members. The zero unit is about $11,000, and the smaller units are $2,000 to $3,000, but they're a little bit wider than the zero. So we're still looking to find a less expensive one that doesn't have a high intolerant. All of our staffing is filled right now. We've had all of our summer help that's just returned. And so we're saving several $1,000 in the advertising and the filling position methodology that we use. We have daily communication and constant contact with the contact platform. And I think that's helped. The monthly ads and communicating for the lives are helping. A lot of people that are commenting on those, saying, I saw it there. We came for the special, and we sell out the special almost every night. We're getting bids to expand the bar top to a U shape, a horseshoe shape. And that will add 12 more bar stools and open bar. We're waiting on the bids before the committee votes on whether or not it's a good idea. And generally, it seems like the committee feels like it is, but we need to see what it would cost, and then we'll come back to the board with that.
Excuse me, how does that fit in the current layout?
It would be the same layout. It would stop that little flip top where you come in from the entrance area, and it would just be a U going around there. And we have access.
Side door.
Yes. And we're getting several plans on how to do it, and then it's the same thing that Jeremy did at Ropes and Ranch, and we're following that general plan because it enhanced the ability to get a bar. The only downside that people have mentioned is it stops the private dining area that you can sit in and hear everything that's said in the 19 anyway. So we're looking at all the options, and then we'll come back. Or you got the question.
What was it, how much that you're talking about it right now? First week you said, what was that year, 2024?
2023, alcohol was 240,137. Food, 528, 329. Tips, 173,964. 2024, alcohol was 334,338. Food, 719,070. Tips, 231,785.
It's January 24th, 2022.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, one thing, all great stuff. If there was one thing that was still on the wish list, is there anything that's standing out? Good?
Yes, we wish we had our smoker.
Just what I asked, and what's the situation?
The gentleman that we gave $10,000 to, when I wasn't on the committee, by the way, was full blast, very cooperative at the beginning. He would report that he had several issues. His father died, his wife got sick, he broke his ankle, his a guy that made all of his deliveries, ran off with all of his equipment, his welder and everything. I don't know where he delivered them to. And but basically, I think he's been avoiding us. I've called him 20 or 30 times and he's never returned any of my calls. So we had a meeting with Jeremy last week and a week before last, and I called the gentleman and left him a message that I was getting frequent questions from the board about what was happening. Yes, and Jeremy stayed on top of it the whole time. And about 3 weeks ago, he contacted Jeremy the day after I called him and said that it's almost finished and we should expect to have it in a couple of weeks. And then he's gone back to no comment. So I advised him in the message that I was going to report back to the board and suggest that we take legal action against him unless we heard from him immediately. And we have not heard from him. That'll be a topic in the executive session. I actually had a friend who's a lawyer nearby, and I had sent one of his law clerks out there about a month and a half ago, and he looked in and said there was a big nice one that looks like the pictures that we had of it from 6 months ago, and he assumed that was probably ours, but we can't get him to respond. I did call the police department in the town that he's located in, and they said they considered this to be a civil matter. I advised them that in Texas, we would consider it to be a civil matter, we would consider it fraud. And could you please give the our supervisors and get back to you? And she is checking. But that's the main thing we're doing respond.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. Thanks for the update. Rich, we're gonna go on in here so we can go ahead and get those things approved and we'll come back.
Like the positive, I can get them approved.
Like that?
Well, I'll start with the community management report and actually flip the page if you want to go over the car sheet. It's remained fairly static. From the last meeting, I just increased the driving range, which was approved to an additional 20,000. So I changed that to 320. And I just want to note the front entrance project, which had $400,000 put in for the third quarter. Hopefully we hear some more on this later. And also, just wanted to make note that actually 480 was approved on the wasn't that. And then the two I have for pending are the ones I'm asking for. The first one is asking for $3,300 of car funds in relation to the Antero proposal I have in front. That's basically for a new community map with adding the 52 acres and we'll have the par 3, the driving range, trail, pond, etc. Not to mention other items around the lake that have changed over the years to update our community map. Make it more interactive with a website, as well as having printable versions of different sizes for use. But a lot of that, and hopefully you kind of clarify a little bit on the app, all that'll work, but that'll take some coordination with that app. First, will be my version. And just trying to get that completed. I don't know if you have any other questions.
Rich, I brought, if anyone seen before, I brought one of the realtor maps that I use religiously to got information on it. And there are a number of things that are outdated or on it. Is it gonna work like this at all, or what will be the difference between, let's say, this one and the one we're gonna do?
Well, they have a base GIS map they did with the master plan, Antero did, so they have a lot of base data. It'll look more modern, if you want to say. It'll have all the same information. It'll have the street names, code names, it'll have the additional area. So how it looks, I mean, it's going to be spatially different because of the 52 acres added to it, and it'll have a kind of a table of it'll be color coded, so orange will be common access or this or that. So it'll have a table of contents as well.
On the old one, I think it has property numbers, per property, so I'm assuming we have that too.
Yeah, it'll have the lot numbers. Again, it's you'll be able to zoom in on it, obviously, but it's not gonna be like a Google map. To like see your house, you'll see your lot and other information, but it's not gonna be detailed like that.
So I think from that, do we have the opportunity to create some?
That's, same thing as, we have maps just like that, not the realtors put their information on it, but we have the same base map that we use at QA they hand out to people. And then, have a nice map to print out in the office, larger stuff.
All right. Is there a motion to approve? Rita? Second, Chris? All right, you have a motion to approve $3,300 for Avatar for the updated community map. All those in favor say aye. I got you that time, didn't I? You raise your hand if you want to do that too. All right. Motion approved 9-0. All right, Rich, go ahead.
Next one is kind of just an update, Ways and Means approved the purchase of two new public works mowers that were scheduled for 26 to be purchased in 2025. No additional funds are necessary. Just giving you an update on that. The next one is in relation to that. Actually, looking over everything and how much those mowers to be beating, a little bit ahead of schedule. Looking to get a third mower. We have 3 full-time employees looking for a seasonal, and then actually with the 52 acres added to it, that's over 20 acres, almost 30 acres additional area that QA Public Works is going to have to mow. So asking for an additional third mower for Public Works.
So, any questions? Yes, what it means to review it, and he was okay with it. My understanding is they still need to vote on it. The Ways and Means can't approve changing of the part of the dates on it, my understanding. So I don't think there's gonna be a problem, but I do think we probably should vote on it. Because I don't, Ways and Means can't move it forward because that's kind of the board's role. So
You're spending money a year earlier than what you planned.
correct. That's my understanding. Unless I'm thinking about it differently. So I don't think there's any problem, but I think if Ways and Means was all for it, understand it. I think we should still vote for it because I think that's a board function.
Is there a motion out there?
Move to approve money for the moving the purchase of the motorcycle here.
Okay, second, Chris, all right. Okay, motion,
Yeah, I got a question too.
Yes, sir.
Toros, are we standardized with Toro across with all our equipment or most of it?
Actually, Public Works has been using John Deere, which we were fine with. Golf uses for them. And then we looked at the twirls are actually built a little better. They're welded next as opposed to bolted on. And we got a very good deal with them compared to them. We are spending $400,000 on a purchase. We kind of combine everything. You get a break and we're satisfied with their quality and from the golf use of them, and they're about $10,000 cheaper than what we spent on John Deere.
And I've got Toro and I've had Toro. I know they're great equipment. Standardizing equipment helps with the maintenance on them too.
Yeah, my question was, my first question was, what's the track machine we have now? Is that a Toro?
The track mower,
Yeah.
that's an Altos.
Alphas, specialty mower?
Yeah.
I just saw it, I remember, just curious, it looks awesome. Second question is, we have no issue with these guys, can have U.S. when we have issues, we gotta grab the U.S. amounts. The company that we buy these from is out of U.S. Texas, not an issue.
No, so if there's a warranty issue, that last time they'll come here to fix it, depending on what it is. They do that for golf, I imagine they do that for us. And then Jimmy, basically have our own maintenance department, it's all small stuff we take care of ourselves anyway.
You don't have any concern.
any other? All right, motion before you is to approve moving money from 2026 to 2025 to purchase those 2 mowers. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, you approved it 9-0. All right, Rich, is there a motion to do that? You want?
Yeah, I just stop me if everything's.
Carol? Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the lawnmower? All right, Cecil, the second, Dylan. All right, any other questions for Rick on that one?
That's it, sure, well, to
All right, motion before you is to spend 17,000 not to exceed for an additional public works mower. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Yeah.
All right, you've approved it 9-0. There's some funny in there. Let's go back, sorry. All right, Rich, what's it? Anything else in the report?
Yeah, I'll just go through some of these pretty quick. The front entrance, put a quick little update on there. Just wanted to know, their current ballpark estimate was 403,000, which is slightly over what I projected, but well within the overall, amount. Just got an email from them today. I think it finally finalized some of the issues and questions they've had. She's projecting probably end of next week on a bid set ready to actually put out the bid and actually get some, final numbers and figure out what the budget's gonna be. So hopefully that, like I said, it's been slowly, but see light at the end of the tunnel. Part 3, 9-hole course, see the construction of a rest room out there, they're getting ready to put the roof on. Electrical's been completed, and trying to confirm that it still looks like Graham will be out the week of the 26th. We'll actually start with finalizing some work on the grades over the time and get that done. And then start springing. We'll be springing the driving range approximately the same time. Pickleball courts, we reviewed all the RFP bid proposals. We're kind of concentrating on one group right now. We're going to meet with them tomorrow. And hopefully finalize basically the scope and what we're looking to get done. All the numbers came a little bit higher than what we first projected. So we may not be able to do the shade or the lights immediately. And we'll see what we can do with donations or maybe come after the board for a little bit more money. But building the 4 courts complete the fence, I think looks more than feasible. But the numbers we got back. The dam low flow project, obviously they couldn't make it out in May. June looks like it might get pushed out too. Because I really don't want to have more of a lake cordoned off with buoys. There'll be a larger area cordoned off for safety. And then we get 150 boats out of the lake for 4th of July. So that's not feasible. So I'm working on that with the date if they can't get out by June 9th, I'll push it out for August or after July 4th, rather. I mentioned before, Rangeland IT, we're moving forward with them, that their contract's going to be up at the end of this year, so we're just looking at some other alternatives. Road work is continued, you've seen a lot of that, the Part 3 road completed. You can see public works report included for numerous other projects, how they're going. Security report is included, citations are slightly down, speeding tickets are slightly down, but still tracking compliance. You can see the number of warnings and citations they've issued, 8 citations, 19 warnings. Security, it's still less than a ticket a day for speeding, so I don't think that's a high number. Lake patrol had 6 hours for April, although we weren't on a full schedule, so you started actually scheduling for people for May, so we'll see what the May numbers look like. Golf course, they did the verification. This year did a little bit different. Golfers went out there and noticed. They did smaller holes closer together, which made less of a mess, so the recovery time was better. And Ronnie pretty much covered a lot.
Bridge with that verification, was it done with a different piece of equipment?
I think it's the same piece of equipment, there's a different attachment.
There's a considerable improvement in the result there. Instead of the plugs everywhere. Minimal disruption. But
Rick, on the schedule for the lake patrol, is that something that we can get or we can see what's going there, especially since this next weekend is Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, well, I got it verbally from Mel's side on this week, but she kind of puts people out 2 hours at a time during the shift, spots people in and out, and pretty much concentrating on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and lesser.
Any questions for Rich? In our packet is information on the patio on the pavilion at the Park Creek.
But yeah, I'll just mention that real quick. They're looking into that. It's kind of a preliminary design. They put it out there. Probably looking for some more donations. But basically looking for kind of like a gravel base, and then they would just have a pole structure. So what they're looking at right now on a roof. It wouldn't be a concrete slab or anything. It'd be more of a temporary structure. It's a permanent structure, but their long term is to have something kind of.
Okay. So is that something that, as I get closer to it, we'll be able to see what that is and what it's gonna look like?
Yeah, I put that in there. It was actually a weekly update as well, so I just thought that in there is a little. Okay.
Any questions for Rich? Okay. Dan, I'll turn it back to you. Yep. You guys are good. I'm not quite getting there.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, the United North ones. So I'm gonna step back for a second and tell you why I'm here. I have three kind of quick stories to tell that starts this process. So, those people remember, or not remember that I hadn't known before. He's been in Colorado a long time, his grandparents were Colorado, so he's been around Colorado for a while. And he was very matter of fact, he said to me, well, Kyle was retired. Like, really? He's like, yeah, no sense, man. I'm like, I'm not sure of that. And he's like, well, it's not a retirement community thing, what is it? And I said, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Then I had, these guys exchanged emails a while ago, thinking about measure scorecard KPIs. I've done a lot of that in my career, and I started to think about that. Rich and I had talked about it. Then we started to think about, well, what we measure, and we measure lots of things. But, what is the most important that we want to have kind of from the top of the house that would help the membership understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, but also, help us understand how we're moving in a positive direction. I kind of got a little bit lost in that. I feel like, well, what does a positive direction mean? And then I was working with long range planning committee. After each member survey, we're going to need to go back in and look at the long range plan and update it based on what was the survey. You start to look at the existing long range plan, and you start to look at what's in there. And it starts with a vision for the long range plan, and it has a mission for Lake Kiowa, which was also updated in January of 2010. And if you read that, it was in one of the reference documents that's in your package. It really is more of a description. Talk about Lake Kiowa being a not-for-profit corporation run by a board of 9 members, so on and so forth. So it didn't really say why do we exist, what are we trying to do, where are we trying to go. It really just described what Kiowa is, or a description of how it's going. So when I started thinking about those things, it was just very hard to kind of move forward in any of those areas with kind of the current structure. And to me, when I was looking at it, having this potential such situation where we could create a vision for the community, that would have positive benefits that would trickle down, that we would be able to understand what the community thinks about Kiowa, where's it going to go, what things we want to continue, what's the heritage of Kiowa, what we want to keep from that heritage and that legacy. And then decision making, having a strategic framework that we can build from that makes decision making easier, and then to understand what do you want to measure, how do you want to measure. So that's where I came to the conclusion of being able to take on some work to really create a vision for the community, update the mission statement, and think through this for the community. This is not a small amount of work, this would definitely be a bigger amount of work. Change around here is hard, I understand, it's not everyone's favorite thing. And it's interesting when I have talked to a number of people about this, probably half the people I've talked to have a knee-jerk, like, and it's different reasons why they like it. Some is they equated having a vision mission to be change, different. And that's not necessarily, what's the case. It's really about creating something that we all can agree with as far as why do we exist, where do we want to go, what's that kind of North Star that we want to follow when we're making strategic plans or decisions. Other people thought it just wasn't worth the time, needed. Then other people kind of took that as me proposing this as a dig against prior boards, that I was making some sort of negative value judgment against what prior boards have done. It's like, well, if we don't have this, then they must look bad. And that's also not the case. I respect the prior boards, a lot of the great work that's been done by the boards. We wouldn't be in the right situation without them and their hard work. And this has really helped. We didn't have that strong foundation. We wouldn't be in a position to be able to think at this kind of high level, maybe stuck into a little bit more tactical situation about how do we pay for mowers in that we need a golf course. Have to do an assessment like thing. So what I'm going to talk through as I get into this actual discussion is really, how do we kind of think about, as a board, what is the best for the community? How do we set us up for success going forward? And I'll say I ran for the board, similar for all I use, be a good steward for the community. How do we kind of help think about that and how do we kind of put some things together so that we can really be more effective and be more efficient going forward and be able to create communication with our members around what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and hopefully get a better unified membership and more involvement. So that's the background. That's why I'm here today. I have talked to a lot of people about this. As I said, it's not been overwhelming in their positive approach to this, but I do want to talk to you at the ground why I think it's really important for us and a little bit on what the benefits would be if we decided to build this stuff. So with this, so today we don't have an articulated vision. I think everyone has an idea of what Kiowa is, what people want Kiowa to be or not be, how they want to stay the same or not stay the same, but it would be really helpful if we all could agree on what that North Star is. As I said, we have a mission that was last updated 15 years ago that doesn't really talk about what we want to do, why we exist. So that makes it harder if we don't agree on those things. It's just harder to make decisions. So how do we set a strategic framework for going forward? How do we help people better understand what decisions are being made and why they're being made? And how do we kind of help people understand what's going on? Pick on Florida, and right, since he's not here. He was one of the ones that said, we don't need change. We're all good. It's all good. I'm not change. We don't need that. And to me, the world is changing around us, and it's changing here. I mean, some of the things we talked about, the Treasury's report, with home prices changing, demographics changing, 1.6 million people moving to the 6 counties, including Cook County, and the counties around us. That needs to change. So what are we doing to be proactive around thinking about what we need to do to keep the best aspects of value and be able to keep that going? Right. So that's the opportunity for us. I know once you go mission statement, they say really more for accounting perspectives than anything else. But vision statement is, as I said, kind of that North Star. Where are we trying to go? What is guiding us in that direction? So that's aspirational nature. It's not designed to make change necessarily. It's really just get everyone on the same page to say what we want to do, where we want to go, but not necessarily just throw everything up in the air just because. And hopefully, if we can share this and do this in the right way, we can use this to help unify, the community and be able to help communication and transparency across the board and the community. And the mission statement, it's a little bit different. So it's really like, why do we exist? What's the purpose of the POA? What are we doing to serve the community? And it's really shapes the framework for helping us make better decisions, make more strategic decisions going forward. So, why this is important, I hit on a lot of these already. If you don't have these things, it puts a lot more pressure on the board not to just react, at the moment, but to be, thinking about how to be strategic and thinking for the long term. It again puts some pressure on you to think about how we can be better aligned, and it forces the board members to think about that alignment. You don't have any kind of framework that helps you push that, push that thinking through. And as I said, there's a lot of things that we need to think about. I talked about population and home prices, but what's going on with the dam, what's going on with the one-lane bridge, what's going on in the future when we start thinking about going to pay for, of course, significant maintenance versus, doing one-lane bridge, we have to, how do we kind of think about all those different things. So it's really about, giving us the opportunity to be more transparent, having an opportunity on membership, and have greater trust in what we can do. It's easier for us to be more consistent in our decision making, and really think about how we can adapt to the changes within Kiowa, the changes from. I said, benefits, clear decision making, increase transparency, credibility of members. How do we, use this to help the board and committees, the POA staff, to really kind of be more effective in their time to be able to make more effective decisions within this. So the residents or members, it really helps set what is the community all about, kind of what do we believe in, why is it here, where do we want to go, where do we not want to go, how do we get more people involved in this and help drive some unification within membership. As I said, there's a number of people I talked to. This is kind of a listing of the top objections that I've heard. As I mentioned, this one already. I don't know how to change the rate. So, yeah, I'm sure to agree. But we know changes are around us, changes are within us. House prices, the average house price went up 170% over the last 10 years. That's changing who's buying houses in Kiowa. Kiowa is relatively more expensive than the other places in our, within a 50-mile radius. So how do we kind of think through that? We don't need one, we're good. To be, would it be mindful of what to do this, not doing anything isn't necessarily the point. It's a lot of work, yes, it will be a fair amount of work. But I think, some of the work that's done in the master plan showed us the way, because there's some similarities and potential process what was done from the master plan. I think that was done in a very reasonable, efficient manner. Speaking of the master plan, Dr. Poole said, "Oh, I have a master plan. Why do we need this?" To me, the master plan is very different. Right now, it's about thinking about the best use within our community, getting resident feedback or member feedback on what amenities we want, where's the best place to put them. So it's related. I think would inform the vision and mission, but that was different work and a different objective. And the last one I get every single time is, oh, it's impossible to kind of agree to anything, so this will never work. So it may be true, but I think that to me this is all about how we do the process, how we include the members and get their feedback. And lastly, to me this is something that the board needs to work on together. It's got to move forward so that we can be in line with what a lot of the other communities do. In your packet, there was a document I put together that had 10 different examples of different POAs and communities, some close by, some further away, talking about what their mission visions are And how, when you think about how they use them, it's a lot of the things we just talked about. So, one more step. For us, this is really an opportunity for all of us, both our members, to shape the future. How do we kind of think about, where we want to go, what we want to be, opportunity to bring more people together. And then, be realistic though, this is going to be some work, a fair amount of work. So to do this, the board needs someone, the board needs somebody that the board needs to get passionate about it. It's not meaning that the board has to do all the work, but the board has to do the way. So my proposal is to gather some people together, talk about an ad hoc kind of group to kind of think about, what this process could look like to get this done. And really start thinking about the magnitude of the work to be able to go down this path so we can better understand what we're potentially trying to get ourselves into. And have that group come back to a future meeting to talk about, what that looks like so you can better understand. So really, sounds good. I just am excited about this opportunity. I do think that very tangible benefits for all of us. And I'm pretty excited to try to move forward and get this done. What questions do you have about all of this?
First of all, I congratulate you for opening up the box or attempting to open up the box. And I'm sure everyone really wants to look inside of it. This is a unique community. Some people don't want to change at all for fear, I think, of the financial impact that goes along with that. For one thing, other people are very much on board with what you want to do there. So,
Well, it's interesting, again, a lot of people say, oh, they don't want to do vision mission, so everything's going to change, everything's going to be more expensive, obviously, generating for a fact. But that's not the case. If everyone says, or the majority of people come and say, we want to continue exactly as we are, that's our mission. That's our vision is to not change. And that's fine. So this is really documenting that. So it's really not about, hey, we need, indoor swimming pools, fitness centers, whatever. That's not it at all. This is about who we are, what we want to be. And that being could be exactly what we are today. That's what we want and do.
I think it gives us the opportunity to address some, I guess, basic issues that we're facing here that whether we like it or not, things are going to change around us, whether we want to change or can change. We're landlocked now, so that's just one of the main issues. But again, I congratulate you for at least going to look inside the box.
So, not with that, talk about changes, the whole way was updated too, right? Or in 20 years from now, how many houses are going to be all around us? If you look a little further south from us, if you're going out to, Hannah, Melissa, that world is just, even Princeton, I didn't even know Princeton was 10 until Graceland, it's the fastest from now in Texas, or something. It's pretty hard to picture.
Cecil, you push up.
Yeah, the long range plan, and we've had one for a long time, is a big piece of that, but when you talk about vision and mission and change, those people and houses that don't want change is going to occur for anybody that's been out here longer than 10 years. What did you see? Is this the same place as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Not going to be 15 years from now. Who would have ever envisioned 10 years ago that we'd be talking about pickleball courts at Lake Kiowa? But guess what? Should we plan for that or amenities that the community has, or do we just let it evolve and happen just like that? And then all of a sudden somebody said, says, I want pickleball courts. Well, pickleball courts should be out here. Yeah. If you look at any community that's trying to be progressive and forward thinking, and I'm just using that as an example. So what's the next pickleball court situation? So should we as a community plan for what we want this place to be, or let it just happen?
So two things about one, I agree that this should inform the long range plan, whether it's yearly or biannually update or on it. But also, and even more fundamentally, it's not about amenities, but I mean, 10 years ago, we picture multiple houses being sold for $2 million. That may kind of, being listed for, multiple $2 million. It's, even when I bought the house, 8 years ago, and 7 years ago, and never even thought that was an option. So, we're in that. So the world has changed already within the gates. So, I agree with that, but I'm fine for that.
You can also remember, because my house is nowhere near that price, so, no, it's not. But I think that's where the median average, and that's where all those things happen, and that's why it makes it affordable community. You're not on the lake or whatever, from that perspective. So I thought I heard you say you had a proposal. Is there a motion there?
My proposal is for the board to,
Is there a motion?
I move, that the board authorizes the creation of an ad hoc committee, which I'm sure would be smaller, 3 to 5 people that would be able to come back to the board, with a process recommendation for how we go from the idea of creating a mission and vision to potentially having one that's ratified by the community. This group would start with a process proposal, but then we continue how to lead that effort, for how long it takes. Because this will be able.
Go ahead, a second.
That's it.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, so what I heard was an ad hoc committee of 3 to 5 people. Is that correct? And so so you also need a name for that committee. Tell me what it's gonna be, so we can put that in the minutes, yeah, there.
And I would suggest, whether it's proposal or not, that you keep it simple. And if this is a vision and mission directive, that it be listed as the mission and vision committee.
Yeah, and on Lake Kiowa mission vision for vision mission.
All right, we have a motion before you for the ad hoc Lake Kiowa Mission and Vision Committee of 3 to 5 people. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, you have it for 9-0. It has been approved. We'll do that committee. So typically an ad hoc committee, the president appoints them. So if you got names of people and stuff like that, please let me know.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We have some people that are interested in.
Hopefully, we'll get voting in January. Those people.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dan, for hearing your caption on that one. So Dan proposed it and Chris seconded. Is that correct? Okay. All right. All right. Additional business.
I have an item that really is for the safety and security group, but it is a result of kind of a happening that I was pulled into with a golf cart that quit running and actually caught on fire on the low water crossing.
2-3 on the bridge.
On the bridge.
On the bridge. Okay.
Yeah. What happened is they called security. It turned out security didn't have a fire extinguisher. Supposedly they had one in the truck that did not have one. Didn't have a means to help tow the car off the bridge. So came to me and kind of brought up some questions as to what are our expectations around what kind of equipment, safety equipment, each one of those security vehicles should have. I talked to Rich about this, suggested that this person reach out to Melanie and Rich, they can. And it brings up some questions about what our expectations are, POA, and what the security vehicles should be equipped with, and the training. If there's only one fire extinguisher in each vehicle, maybe there needs to be 2. In this case, evidently, they're supposed to have been there, but they loaned it to another vehicle that vehicle didn't have.
I'll pick off here, the fire extinguisher, I wasn't there, was discharged, used on a different incident the week before, maybe, I don't remember, the day before literally, so didn't get it, we just recharged it, right, so someone was not recharged them, so that specific fire extinguisher was discharged. Secondly, it's in our, I don't want to call it a rule, but rules, we do not tow anyone around here because of liability. That's how it's but I ask the question, doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but when you throw a Lamborghini and then you slam on the brakes and Lamborghini slams into you, we gotta pay for a Lamborghini, so no security patrol and or sheriff's department or anyone else will tow you. Very unfortunate, again, I don't think it was a true fire, from what it sounded, there was some brake smoking and I think fire got thrown around. Yeah, the officer got his yank up out of his thing and put the heat, whatever fire out. So that's what I was told. I wasn't there, so I'm hearing it again. Again, every truck that had a fire extinguisher circumstance that we did not because they used it to before something. But we cannot tow up this whole per our insurance.
So is that an opportunity for security to put something out, or is there any of that incident?
On the top of there, I think it's expectations is really, what security does or doesn't do out there. Security does a lot of things, but it's in general, 911 call, any kind of police, fire, activity, 911, security, not an emergency service. In general, I mean, you have to get a specific in what we do or don't do, like, even in our rules, they're they're not a supplement to like sheriff, police, fire, anything, AAA, they're not part of that. I
think they did help them pushing off the road.
Yeah, that might have been that. What do we have, pretty vehicles, we have.
We have, like I said, remedial first aid kits, they have animal control things, various other just small things, but, I mean, it's not it's mostly like, like animal control, things like that.
These are $15 to $20 an hour security personnel, not EMTs, or police officers, or understood. So, I would have thought, I'll just be go straight and what you think about it. And it's for the liability. But I think this will be that, I don't know, we would fire. There wasn't a yellow on public flame that we did nothing about.
No, I understand that, but it kind of brings up the situation again.
The situation again of, a boat catches on fire. I mean, do we have,
That's 911, the active call, 911 to, within 50 meters of the general actually, for a lake, you would call 911, they would set games on, they people are very small film.
Limited resources, we would not have a swift water crew. That could be on like,
and I agree, Ron, this is, if anything that we're doing that's incorrect, I think maybe it's a case of DOA and or expectations. Yes, of what
correct.
we can do and what we can't do and what our capabilities are.
We did talk about this in our security, this exact incident, so again, we got a background. And one of our topics was, well, what do we need? Clearly an extra fire extinguisher. One's in every truck and one's in the office. Well, now they took the one out of the office, so we're like, oh, how we get recharged? And we said, just give that. How many extras is too many though? It's just, you got to certify, else you can't do it. So there's just no more to it than let's keep extra fire extinguisher. So the cost of that, you got to check them every 6 months or anyway, can't remember the time frame. So, but Melanie did say, she has everything she thinks she needs. If she had a request, she would get better first aid kits. I believe, I assume that probably were, but it's just one thing that came out of this.
Okay. All right.
But again, they are security personnel. We cannot stitch up someone with a dead bug.
No. Okay.
I do think, one earlier that this would be great communicating / content on the article.
Just again, setting expectations, right? Of what's out there, what we're able to do, those things. Could be helpful.
All covered, if you're all the address, not to put on the call line, one for phone, but what faster than what you do, will do it. they have a very big, they call security, but another one, he's calling. Yeah.
Okay, any other any other additional business? Okay, all right, item 6, we had one about rules and stuff, and we sent that on to the rules committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just asking, to make sure we send it to the rules committee. Okay. All right. No other additional business? Any comments from the members? Sat there the entire time to think of something, right?
Do I need a mic or?
Yes.
There.
Thank you.
Debbie Heath Scott, or, Debbie Heath Lot 297. This is for Dan. Have you, with your mission statement, have you read the, history books that the Women's Club is about?
Actually, that's a really good point. That was another kind of piece to the puzzle, is I did start going through the latest history book. I don't have access to the newest one. So, back to them, but yes, I have looked at the most recent copy.
We have the full set, so if you'd like to borrow it, the reason I asked is because this was never meant to be a retirement community. Many of the original people that bought lots and built out here came out here with their small kids. Turners for one, who then, inherited the parents' house and lived out here themselves. The Marshalls, Kay Marshall and her husband, they brought their children out here when they moved, and they were the first people out here. Brown, what's Brown's last name? Missouri. He moved out here with his parents as a child, so this was never meant to be a retirement community. So whoever told you that was misinformed, but.
Yeah, I brought that up more for, everyone has a different opinion and different perspective, and some of it lines up to whatever they do the best for them or their opinion. So, I 1,000% agree, right? We can make that part of the process to kind of review it.
Yeah, let people read those books because there's great information in there.
Good.
And it has family out here that have little kids, so there are school buses that go through here now, so.
Yeah, I'm sure that, we get reports from, my school, Calsburg School District, on how many kids they've been, Iowa, numbers big going on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, just.
No, that's great, thank you.
Well,
Any other comments?
Dean had lots of one night. As we're getting ready to approach the busy boat season, we just had a constant contact that went out that addressed boats that have the ballast that create the big waves where there are units. So I'm out, I think it was Saturday morning, and of course there's a boat out there that's not a surfing boat who is surfing. And so my question is, what is the proper procedure when you see this, and what are we doing? And what is the response of the people who are being told that they're breaking the rules?
Right? Yeah, so it's, right, it's one of the things that we're working on now, is how we address that legally, if you will, and looking at our rules. And so I don't know if anybody has a better response to that, but it is on the table. It is something we're looking at. We're also looking at it from our rules perspective. And so some of those things will also be in the rules, out there for comment. Yeah.
And so, as a observer, am I supposed to be a Karen and sorry, Karen.
So,
Put down their lot, this is what I saw at 7:30 this morning. These guys were out here doing this. They did 2 hours and
if you would like to do a video of that and put down the lot number and those kinds of things, you can send it in.
Yeah, there is a form on the secure on the security site, but it goes back that you see it, you say something about it to somebody, whether it be pictures or videos, they go to security.
We'll have the people to come in, they ask them, let's get that back.
I do care because it goes up, I mean, what it does to the seawall, but if you have both little houses, little sheds and, when it hits that, it goes all up into everything that we own inside, which, I know that's not a problem with me, but it is an issue.
Well aware of it.
I know, like I said, what are we supposed to do? We put the message out there every year, they break the rules every year and.
So part of that, again, we go back to what Cecil said and Dylan said, is that if you see it, video it, send it in, send information. We don't see it, it's hard to control.
Security of the press to be in the water more.
Yeah, well, he showed up, I mean, he did his job, but they always show up right into that. I mean, because obviously they're not gonna do it when they're out there. I mean, they see that green boat and they stop.
Also, the green boat's not a green boat, it's the family and they have got a different boat, so.
Oh, no, I meant our green boat, when they see the green boat. The top of the boat, they stop, if it's not the one now, yeah. So you're saying the green boat found a new boat?
From what I understand.
Well, then maybe it was them.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments from the members? All right, we're gonna take like a 7-8 minute break to 7:30, and then we'll go into our executive session. Okay?
This is, I thought, it's